views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey there, welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters and editors and writers and filmmakers, photographers, videographers. And our second segment this evening, we're going to talk to an artist, a painter, one of the most well-known and beloved painters in the Bronx. He's going to show us his latest works. But to get started, let's say good evening to Robbie Sequeira, who's new. He is with the Bronx Times. Nice to have you with us, Robbie. We appreciate you being on the Bronx Buzz.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Big fan of the program, so it's great to be here.
There you go. Great. Well, now you are the program here this evening. Let's just talk about it now. A lot of times we have reporters who come to the Bronx from elsewhere, and they bring a little interesting perspective. But you are a Bronx guy who went elsewhere and now are back. Tell me a little bit about the background of where you were, why you did it, and why you came back to the Bronx to work.
Yeah, so I, I've lived in Parkchester most of my life. So I'm 27, which is kind of scary to say.
It's not that scary, dude. Just relax a little bit.
It feels like so I'm just a little kind of anxious about that. But I left to go get my career started as a sports reporter in Minnesota, southern Minnesota, St. James Plain Dealer. Got my career kind of bustling in Iowa. For the Iowa caucuses, chasing around a bunch of politicians in a beat up Buick LeSabre, and then really kind of wrapped up the last maybe year during the pandemic in Georgia for the Gainesville Times. Before this opportunity here at the Bronx Times started, I was really on board with my editor Christian Falcone, who's doing amazing work there. So he really wanted a reporter who had Bronx roots, who also enjoyed kind of the ins and outs of staying up doing watchdog journalism, and that's kind of who I am. So,
is there something that you could tell us that you learned in Minnesota and in Gainesville that you bring here that gives us maybe a little perspective, or even you perspective when you cover the Bronx?
Accountability. When you work in small towns, it's just easier to be held accountable for something that you write. Especially in the small, I worked in a town that was less than 5,000 people. So if you write something and they don't like it, or there's a small fact that might be wrong, which I think all local journalists should experience, you'll have people tell you in the supermarket, you'll be out getting your groceries and go, "Hey, I didn't like that."
Well, wait a minute. You're not going to tell me that Bronx people won't tell you what they think.
I will.
There's just more of them, right?
I think it's easier when someone does it through email or phone rather than someone maybe knowing who you are and seeing you in the supermarket of an aisle. That type of, I think, accountability you can't escape. You can turn off your notifications all you want, but to have people tell you, "Hey, I thought that story was terrible," to your face when you're getting milk, at 9 o'clock in the morning, it kind of does something to your soul.
It does, but you know what? And I can tell you, because I've been doing this a lot longer, it fortifies you because you do what you do and you believe in what you do. And look, we all make mistakes. Our problem is it's out in the public. You make a mistake, everybody knows it. Just talk to me about what drives you, what motivates you to be a journalist. And then I want to get into some of the things that you've been writing for the Bronx Times.
It's funny. I'm a huge extrovert, so people. So I love talking to people. I just love. I really love that my job is talking to someone and asking, what's going on here, and then they tell me, and then I ask another person what's going on here, and it happens to be a story that's affecting a lot of people's lives. One of the main reasons why I got into politics was because political decisions on a local level, city council, board of supervisors, even the electric board or whatever. It affects people's lives every day. It affects their ability to sustain a livelihood. It affects, if the lights are going to come on. And those are issues that I think a lot of people who may not know it affects them knows it affects them, if that makes sense. They don't understand kind of that one-to-one relation of being a constituent and having people in power who are supposed to represent you. And the decisions that they make are either representing you or not representing you. So I really enjoy the stories that I get to tell. And oftentimes it's about people who maybe people wouldn't think twice about, or they may not think that their problems matter in the grand scheme of things. But really, being able to tell stories, especially here in the Bronx, there's a lot of stories that I think are ripe to be told about in a way that maybe haven't historically.
Right.
For instance, of Bronx is a very diverse place with a lot of diverse different lifestyles and livelihoods. And all those stories are interesting. They should be told in a way that you spend time talking to Bronxites.
If I can interrupt you, because I wanted to ask you about some of the things that you have written about. The way I've always viewed it, and obviously I've been doing this here in the Bronx for a lot longer, it's undiscovered territory. We've got 1.4 million people, and there's times when, when I talk to people, nobody knows we're here. It's like they don't know who we are. And yet we invented everything. Everything starts here.
Most things that they listen to come from the Bronx. Most of the things that you eat come from the Bronx. I mean,
exactly.
A lot of New York City comes from the Bronx.
Of course.
And I think the only things that the only things that people hear about in Manhattan or Brooklyn is that the Bronx has a lot of crime. I think that kind of is reductive to the things that happen in the Bronx.
Of course. Let's just get into this was a story that we pulled out that I wanted to get you started on the Bronx Buzz with, was this idea of vendors calling on the city to legalize and decriminalize street vending. And I'll paint the picture for you. You go by the Kingsbridge Armory any day, any Saturday, and there are a zillion vendors all along there, people trying to make some money during a very difficult time. The problem is, of course, they may compete with a clothing store across the street. And so they're saying, hey, we deserve the right to be able to earn a living. Of course, the store owners who are paying a lot of money for landlords for their property, who've kept them up, who've survived the pandemic, are saying, I don't want to lose money for somebody else. Where are we at? What did you see? And where do you think we're going?
It's an interesting situation. I think that all the interests are valid, right? The store owners' interests are valid. They don't want to lose competition to, especially on, like Fordham Road, for example. They don't want to lose all of that foot traffic just to vendors. But then you have vendors who, the majority of vendors, this is from the Street Vending Project, who are a big part for my story. A lot of them are, undocumented workers. A lot of them are veterans. A lot of them are women of color. So people are trying to earn some autonomy financially. So you have a lot of people who really aren't, trying to necessarily take business away from each other, but it happens to be the competitive market in these big, busy places. Where we're kind of at now is that you have a lot of vendors who want to be legitimized for the work that they're doing. And they, a lot of advocates say that they are really the backbone for a lot of what's going on with, New York food, New York fashion, New York accessories, a huge kind of backbone of that market. And then now you also have a lot of people in the storefronters who are saying, hey, you're taking business away from us. But nothing is really being said from the city. Now, there's been a couple of big wins. The city was able to kind of expand over the next decade. 4,000 new vendorships are going to be out, but that still kind of leaves about a huge market of people who aren't.
4,000 doesn't get you anywhere. If you're asking me, I think that the mayor is not going to do anything between now and the time he leaves office. He'll leave it for the next mayor, and then of course the next city council. It will be very interesting because we will have, certainly in the Bronx, many grassroots people who are sympathetic to it, but also trying to build local economies. Not only informal economies, but formal economies. So I think they will have a real input as to what's going on. Is there a conclusion? Is there anything now to say, this is where we're at?
Yeah. So after I wrote that story, I think the weekend, the ensuing weekend, a woman Alonzo, who works for, I think the executive vice president of Fordham Bid.
The Fordham Bid, yeah.
Yeah, she had penned an op-ed to the New York Post. It was a big kind of spread of a lot of vendors on Fordham Road. And then the NYPD broke up a lot of the vendors there. Now, there's a huge issue with that, I think, logistically, since the city council passed a bill in January that said the NYPD would no longer be doing vending enforcement. That goes up to the Board of Health. So there's a lot of there's a huge mishmash. I don't think that there's instructions being told to anybody. From what I gathered in interviews with vendors, with store owners, even with, the people who are in charge of business communities in the Bronx, there really isn't a lot of clear language and that may be up for the next mayor to decide.
Yeah, the mayor and the city council. There'll be a small business committee, and they're going to weigh in on it. I think it'll be very interesting because I think we're about to get a whole new city council with a whole new vision of grassroots economy, grassroots ways of life, et cetera, et cetera. The next thing I want to just ask you about, this came up, it's about a specific area, and we're talking about Locust Point. Residents are saying, you know what, the entrance to the, I guess it's, I forget, whatever highway it is that leads to the Frog's Neck, Frog's Neck Bridge, is causing. And now we're getting more cars than ever before. The streets are more crowded, but they want to close that entrance. What do you think? Where are we at with this?
So it's funny. I had talked to.
We got about a minute and a half. So go ahead.
Talked to an MTA spokesperson. They said that it really isn't the traffic issues isn't their jurisdiction. That it's not their problem. That actually would go to the NYPD. So. Kind of another thing about issues is that, a lot of the Locust Point, residents are pointing to this exit that's causing congestion. They say that, some people said that they can't even get off of their own exit, because of the amount of traffic, because the amount of people are trying to merge in. So that's another issue that's going to happen. That's going to have to, go. That's an MTA decision. The MTA does have.
So wait. I was a little confused there. So you're saying the MTA will have a decision? I'm thinking DOT.
So the MTA has to close the bridge. The DOT. Traffic issues. The petition is calling on the TBTA to close the bridge. So for clarification,
close the entrance to the bridge. Let's be clear, we're not closing the front.
So not close the bridge. Yes, excuse me. So the TBTA has jurisdiction over the bridges, over the entrance, tolls, all that movement. Right. The petition calls on for them to close it. The MTA, who I talked to, who the TBTA is under the umbrella of, said that it is, it's really not in their interest to close the exit or entrance anytime soon. Right. And that any of the traffic issues would be for the NYPD to enforce.
I see. So, we're just about out of time. But here's the way I see it: is that right now we have more traffic than ever. So people who know a little bit about the streets and roads, they're not getting on. They're getting even off the highway, or they're trying to reroute around the traffic that slows up going to the bridge, and then they end up crowding a neighborhood, and it suffocates a local community. This is a very. This is one of those that I don't have an answer for. I'm going to let you do the reporting. What's that?
I don't drive either, so for me,
okay.
I don't know the commuter struggle, so it helps to kind of talk to people who stand in standstill traffic to go, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Why you do
well, and the other thing is the communities are getting choked. They're saying this is not our traffic. This is coming from somewhere else. All right. Well, we're going to keep after it. You'll keep after it. And we'll say to Robbie Sequeira from the Bronx Times, congratulations on working for the Bronx Times, on coming back home, on doing the right thing in the BX. And we hope to have you back as you continue to write more great stuff in the Bronx Times.
Anytime. Thanks, guys, so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Great. All right, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, you're going to really enjoy the brand new work from Daniel Halbin. Some of it's a surprise. Danny's one of the most well-known and highly regarded artists in the borough of the Bronx. Don't go away.